Joining me now for what goes into executing a celebration of this size is Elliot Winick. He's a president of Winick Productions. Elliot, it's great to have you on the show this morning. And I know a lot of New Yorkers excited for this parade to kick off. City Hall Plaza preparing to welcome up to 3,500 guests to celebrate the Liberty's first ever WNBA title. What should attendees of this celebration know?
Well, the first thing is transportation is going to be critical. No cars should even attempt to come down there. NYPD had a no parking detail starting at midnight, and they were towing cars. And I assume by this time of the morning, they've blocked off various traffic routes. So mass transit is the way to go. And even then, you have to check, of course, all the different mass transit entities have changed their schedules. They're skipping some stops, and you can check with 311 or the MTA or Long Island Railroad or Amtrak or Metro North for how they've adjusted their schedules. But mass transit is definitely the way to go.
Elliot, we do have an image of the parade route here. I'm not sure if you've been able to take a look at it, but explain how this unfolds as the New York Liberty and those in celebration with them make their way to City Hall.
Well, yeah, on the parade, there's a formation area, which is all the local streets around Battery Park. That's where the floats assemble and the order of the parade is developed. And then obviously the route goes up Broadway, and there'll be a dispersal area for the parade floats as the honorees go to City Hall, where there's a special rally there. So a lot of the streets around Broadway will be closed, or almost river to river is my expectation. And NYPD, which has done this many times, they dusted off the old blueprints, but they've had to adjust for a few reasons. One, there's a little bit of institutional memory that might have been lost as officers retire, but there's been some changes since the last few parades. We now have city bike and bike share, outdoor cafes, and things that are what I call attractive nuisances. So the city's probably deactivated them or removed them so people don't climb on them. Even street scaffolding, sidewalk sheds, I'm sure there'll be officers posted so people don't climb up on them. And this audience is going to be different than, let's say, the Giants parade. It's going to be a lot more women and young girls, and I'm sure they're taking that into account also.
It'll be exciting to see. Elliot, we know the Liberty did clinch the championship Sunday in Game 5. How does a celebration like this parade come together in such a short amount of time?
It's normally it would take 3 months to do this. When they do the New York Marathon or the 5-Borough Bike Tour, they have months and months of planning. I assume either late Sunday night or first thing Monday morning, there was an interagency meeting at City Hall, and all the various agencies that get involved, with NYPD being the lead, get involved. But you have the Department of Transportation, Department of Health, you have Fire Department, EMS, all the transit agencies, OEM, the Office of Emergency Management, and something like DOT. They survey the route, they fill in the potholes, they're looking down to see if any obstacles. So they got to mobilize. They have to, Department of Buildings has put in an embargo for any construction work that might have been taking place on any buildings on the route. They've probably canceled any crane activation. So all the agencies have to do an embargo or adjust. EMS, I'm sure, has multiple ambulances and EMTs on gators on the route. So they all have to pretty much stop everything and mobilize on the dime. Even the rally at City Hall with 3,500 expected guests, that's a ticket only, so they have to create an invitation list and get those invitations out. So I'm sure that people have lost a lot of sleep so far.
Probably. It is a very tight turnaround, as you mentioned there. And we've seen New York City host more than 200 ticker tape parades in its history. The latest ones being to honor frontline workers during COVID in 2021. And then before that, as I mentioned earlier, the U.S. women's national team for soccer in 2019 after it did clinch the World Cup victory. What are lessons learned from those previous events to ensure that today does go smoothly?
Well, there's always an after-action report and meeting where the police and all the agencies review everything and make adjustments. One of the biggest elements that's always kind of an overlay on events is counterterrorism. Every event in New York City has a counterterrorism overlay. So there'll be blocker cars and blocker trucks, sand trucks on all the side streets leading up to the parade route and bottling it north and south, so they don't have to worry about any vehicles, either accidental or intended, that drive through the parade route. NYPD, I'm sure, will have their aviation unit up, their helicopters. They have a drone They have counterterrorism people that'll be in the crowd, plus the regular traffic division and all the other things. So they're aware of things. Their intelligence division will be monitoring for any potential demonstrations or protests, which is a fact of life. Whenever there's TV cameras, there's the possibility of different protest demonstrations, which might be unrelated to women's basketball. Just that's the way it is right now.
Elliot, so good to get your take. We are rooting for the Liberty and excited to see this parade unfold today. Elliot's the president of Winick Productions.